Hey guys, so this is a video that was requested by Jade about jade plants. More specifically, she was asking about how exactly do you actually do the cuttings for jade plants and to propagate them. So I thought I would show you just exactly how to do that, or at least how I do that, and which has worked for me almost every single time I try it. So here are some that I have already separated to cuttings, propagated, and have done very well. I usually almost always use Terra Cotta pots with some kind of cactus type soil potting mix. Normally the Miracle Grow is my actual favorite to use. It works really well for me. It's a great combo with the Terra Cotta pots. It just really works. So if you don't have any, I would suggest getting some. Do you absolutely need it? No, you don't. Any soil is good. If you were not using like a cactus succulent type soil, I would suggest using just a regular soil. And if you can, throw in some rocks in there just to mix it up so that it'll help drain through that soil. If you have any perlite, put in some perlite, mix it in. So yeah, you can use regular soil, of course, but that's just my little tip for that. And this is my mother plant that I've been taking cuttings from and that I separated earlier this year. So I'm going to be taking a couple of cuttings from here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to look for branches that are going downward. And that's because I don't want to have the ones staying on the branches that are going down. I want all of the branches to be going in an upward motion. So the ones that are facing downward, I'm going to be cutting those ones and using those ones as cuttings for new plants, and also taking the little leaves off of those ones as well to try and propagate those. So here you can see how many branches these trunks have. They're so beautiful. They have so many, and I'm very happy with the way this plant has been growing. But the ones that are going downward, like these ones here, I'm going to be using those to cut. As you can see here, it's going in a downward facing motion, and I don't want that for this jade plant. It starts to go bend downward, and then it'll bring down the rest of the tree as well. So I am going to be cutting those ones, and the way I'm going to cut it is I'm going to allow for some nodes. And what a node is are those little notches that you see on the branches. Those are a little node, and that's where the new leaf will come out. So wherever you cut, make sure you're giving enough space, enough nodes, so that new leaves can grow from the little nodes. So as you can see here, there's enough space in between the nodes, that there is enough nodes there and below the lowest leaf, and close enough to where the tree trunk is in itself. So I'll just be cutting that. And I am actually not a part of the callus crew. I've mentioned this before. Whenever I do let things callus over, it never works, and usually the cutting just dies. I know this method works for a lot of people. This is probably not a very popular thing to say, but what works for me is what works for me. Try it yourself and see which way works best for yourself. If you prefer to callus over, go ahead and do that. If you don't, go ahead and plant right away. And see here, this one is going in a downward motion, and it's actually curling in a, like at the end, you'll see that it goes upwards at the end. So I'm going to be cutting this branch off as well. Again, leaving some nodes, and you can see them there. I will be cutting here, and it's a simple cut, and you just use your cutting shears, and it'll be a clean cut. So here is my branch I'm going to be cutting off. I'll just be making sure I include some of the nodes there towards the closer part of the stem, and just as you see there, I'll be cutting those off here. I'll just be taking my shears, making sure I include some of the nodes, and it's a simple cut, and it just cuts right away. And now you have a couple of cuttings to work with. And here are my Terra Cotta pots. I'm going to be using some are pretty small in size and have a couple of larger ones. I'm going to be cutting these cuttings that I took to make them even smaller and to create more plants, and use those to propagate from the leaves as well. As you cut, you will need to make sure you cut off lower leaves off of your cuttings. So make sure you remove those and save them, because those can be propagated. And the more we can save, the more we can try and propagate. So I just used my succulent and cactus soil mix, and I filled up my pots, and now I'm just going to be trying to figure out what exactly it is I want to do with these. How much I want to cut off, which way I want to cut off, because as you can see here, this is actually curved, and luckily I have a lot of nodes to work with, so that's pretty cool. And here you just want to make sure you're careful with where you're cutting, because you want to make sure you're going to be including nodes, and just make your clean cut. And then you're going to be eventually removing the bottom leaves as well, because that is the part that needs to be inserted into the soil. And you don't want to put your new cutting with leaves into the soil. You want it to be purely just the stem with the nodes on that stem. Otherwise it runs risk of the bottom leaves just rotting out and the whole little cutting becoming bad altogether. So at this point I'm just removing bottom leaves and making sure I'm saving those, because I will be putting those in a tray later on to hopefully propagate from. So here I've pretty much figured out where I want each of the little stems to go. Each of my little cutting stems, I'm going to be putting 2 into one of the larger pots, and then 1, maybe 2 into the smaller ones. And I'm also going to be adding in some of the little leaves that I took, just barely putting them into the soil. Mostly it's just going to be resting on top. A couple I'm going to have barely inserted, as you can see here. This one specifically has just a stem. I'm not even sure if that's going to work, but we'll see. I love trying new things and experimenting, so we'll see how this one goes. It might not even work out, but I'll let you know. So here's what we have left. I've had my 2 larger cuttings into the larger Terra Cotta pot, a couple of the smaller cuttings into the smaller pots, and a whole bunch of leaves that hopefully will be propagating into new little jade plants. So we'll see how this goes, and I'll let you guys know, and I'll keep y'all posted. And I hope that you guys found this little tutorial helpful. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. I love taking cuttings, propagating, separating jade plants, actually all plants, but jade specifically. I just love my jade. So yeah, let me know if this is helpful to you guys or what you would like to see next. Thanks.